Welcome back, everyone. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE, here with Gemma Allen, my co-host. We've got Todd Lohr here. He's with KPMG. He leads many things, national rollout, clients. What's your official title?
I'm the National Managing Principal for our Clients and Markets organization.
Those have big titles.
Probably too long of a title, but I focus everything kind of customer success to how we go to market, and specifically how we bring partners like Salesforce, and I focus a lot on AI.
Well, welcome to theCUBE. We had a little preamble chat before we came on camera. I'm fascinated by the storylines that you are honing in on, which I think sets the stage for kind of where we are right now in the industry, is that we're, process, people, change management, all that stuff we've lived through. We're kind of in a new world now where with generative AI, it's generative, right? So then it's all online. Physical AI is coming soon. We're in a business model disruption.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've covered that, written about it, and talked about it. But it's the opportunity, and that changes a lot of the things that were once in place, the mechanisms, the people. Todd, what's your vision on this? I think you had a great angle on this, that we are in a time of rethinking how and who does what.
So I think, recognizing I'm at one of the largest software conferences in the world that's focused on SaaS, I think we're going to see a massive shift in the next several years as you think about AI's impact on how you deliver software throughout the enterprise, specifically with agents being kind of that unifying labor for how, or a unifying element for how you get work done at the enterprise. And where I think a lot of organizations are really focused right now is more, to your point, on the operating model side of it, and focused on cost takeout, focused on more automation of tasks, right? So we use a framework at the firm called Taco to explain agents. It's not Tuesday, but get your Taco Tuesday joke in now. I use it all the time. People are probably rolling their eyes that have seen me before. But really, it's agents are not all created equal. There's task agents, automation agents, collaboration agents, and orchestrator agents. And really using that framework helps explain kind of the business disruption, where a lot of folks are deploying task-based agents to simplify, which is more on the operational side. But when you start thinking about orchestration and disruption of entire value chains of your organization, we have to rewrite the fundamental playbook for our organizations that's really going to focus on the business model disruption, not just kind of the task automation or orchestration or some of the other pieces.
You know, in your role at KPMG, you had a technical role, you get the business role, but you oversee a lot of the relationships. We're talking about the major hyperscalers, the neo clouds are entering the scene. I mean, large scale AI factories are coming. That's going to enable this layer.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your vision on that? Because I think this is coming super fast. The road to super intelligence is coming fast, but in reality, it is moving along.
Oh yeah. One of the anecdotes I share, being a technology consultant for a good 20 plus years, the concepts I would bring to my clients that lived in a PowerPoint deck, they would last years. Yeah, months, even years, right? So you could have the same kind of framework. Here's the tech stack, here's how I help you through it. It's dated in days now, right? We have a massive clock speed dilemma, not only in professional services for how we help our clients, but our clients themselves are all facing this massive construct of the world is changing so fast, the tech landscape is changing so fast, right? Just keeping up with the day-to-day changes is hard, especially for CIOs and CTOs that really plan long-term investments across the tech estate and where the market's going. So I think that's kind of one challenge that we see in the market. The other is both, I don't know if it's a challenge, it's also an opportunity. There are a number of companies that are really pivoting what has been their historical business models around, I'm sitting at Salesforce, historically a CRM and the world's leading CRM, but what I think we've learned this week is it's not a CRM. I think you'd be amiss in referring to that. It's really a modern platform for how you do work, right? Across the front, the middle, and the back office, and being able to extend that into that orchestration layer I talked about at the beginning is going to be a business model transformative element. And bringing, I think Salesforce has been really intentional in their acquisition strategy to think about the future technology stack. If you think about Slack, that is the future of how you're going to interact with technology, right? And even moving from Slack to more voice is the most natural interface that you're going to have with technology, and that's really that top layer of it. You have the integration layer with MuleSoft, right? You have the announcements they made this year with Informatica. We just did a session earlier today about where Informatica and being able to get your data governance right, be able to get your data quality right, so that you can feed that into Salesforce and Agentforce to be able to build those agents is going to be
scale
key.
them too, by the way.
Scale them, exactly.
That's a huge point.
Yeah, and that's a good point. That's the other thing we're seeing in the market is, the last 2 years of AI has gone from, okay, I've heard about this before, it's important, to this is, existentially critical for my business, how do I scale and how do I scale faster? And I think we're really at that entry point. 26 is going to be the year of scale, specifically with agents being the ability to scale. Couple things that I think are really helpful is AI meeting your platforms where you do work. If you look at the last 2 years, most organizations have adopted AI through a prompt, right? Through a large language model, exposing that large language model, not necessarily connected to your enterprise data, but you had access to the world's knowledge, right? In a way that was easily consumable that the internet hadn't been able to provide in decades. So that's transformative in how you do tasks, but when you start thinking about connecting how you do work through SaaS platforms like Salesforce, and then layering AI on top of that, I think that's going to be hugely transformative.
Tell us a little bit about the next frontier of consulting, right? So there's definitely mixed views on how opportunistic versus risk, AI presents. But you've made some interesting comments about that it's no longer going to be a buy versus build model, right? It's going to be about this stitched together, we're in this one phase.
When one door closes, another door opens, and that's how I see the future of professional services. I'm actually bullish on the market, and the reason being is, yes, there are elements of things that we do today that are getting codified, that are going to become productized. Even if you look at the partnerships we have with the leading technology companies, the traditional configuration that we did in those platforms is going away. But what is not going away is the complexity, the change management, the integration, the data, right? There's a whole host of new services that we're intentionally focused on. One thing that we do have in the consulting world is we've been helping clients, at least at KPMG, for over a century in navigating change. And I think the bullish aspect of that is we are sitting at the precipice of probably the largest set of change facing organizations. And what played out historically, we've seen change, we've seen digitization, we've seen industrialization. Those played out in decades. This is playing out in years. And I think we sit certainly at KPMG at the forefront of helping our clients through that change.
One of the things that comes up a lot when I talk to leaders of advisory, consult, big GSIs, and even companies, on the professional services piece is interesting, because you hit up a good point that seems to be the pattern. The old model has changed. With cloud and now AI at scale, you get operating leverage, because there's data involved. So that's one question I want to ask you. What's the operating leverage of the future of professional services? The second question is, now that ecosystems are developing, the professional services, wow, that's my margin. Someone could probably do a migration faster that might be off book. So what's your thoughts on that? One is the leverage, and then two, the ecosystem stitched together piece that Gemma brought up, because I know 3 examples where the startup came in to a big professional services organization, was the antibodies attacked it, but it was actually gave them more profit. Because they did more migrations, throughput went faster, so clock speed, pace of play, all that's going on.
So the first part of that, I see it as scaled insights, right? And traditionally professional services has been really about the team that you bring to the client, and focusing on the people that you're bringing to the client, which I think KPMG as well as our peers in industry would pride ourselves in talent development as our core competency, and making sure that we're bringing the best the firm has to offer through our people. I think it's an and strategy moving forward, in that we're going to do that and bring AI that also helps drive collective insight. Knowledge management is hard. I would tell you that no organization has ever done a great job in driving knowledge management, but I am very excited about the strides we've made just in the last year about getting our knowledge into a place such that AI sitting on top of that provides the collective insight of the firm. So our clients are no longer going to be relying on having the right 6 people in the room. They're going to bring the right 200,000 global KPMG folks to the equation, because we're going to use AI to equalize that knowledge set and bring the best to every engagement. With that said, that's going to change kind of the economics, the scaling. Our business model itself can't is no longer going to be measured on people and hours and rates, right? I think that's the historical construct. It's going to be measured on productization, it's going to be measured on value creation for our clients, right? Things that we've talked about in the industry for years. I think those are going to be accelerated because fundamentally the value equation we bring to our clients is going to change, and how we bring that is going to have to change as well.
And
right?
the ecosystem piece.
And the ecosystem piece,
I mean,
near and dear to my heart, so I don't know if we cover this. My title before my current job, I was actually the head of ecosystems for the firm, right? It was a newly created title referencing the strategic imperative that our relationship with third parties is no longer one-to-one, but many-to-many. And we were the first organization to create this head of ecosystems, referencing the fact that it's not about partnerships anymore, it's not about alliances, it's not about KPMG bringing Salesforce to help our clients. Our clients in Salesforce can do that probably on their own. I think our strategic narrative has been, especially in today's technology, or even in today's broader business landscape, it's bringing Salesforce with an ecosystem of data providers like Salesforce, or with
Snowflake,
Databricks, right? Yeah. Informatica from a data perspective. It all has to run in a cloud environment, right? You have to bring large language models, right? So bringing Anthropic to that equation. So we're intentionally focusing our relationships to build those many-to-many ecosystems on behalf of our clients so that we have those tested ways to go to market collectively and bring kind of what we think is a synergistic value play ultimately to the market versus those one-to-one relationships.
Talk to us about the industries where you're seeing, the quick wins, like where which there really is a clear. You mentioned in the chat beforehand that you have a process improvement background, right?
Yeah.
So whether it's like process and procedure, it seems like the AI story is very explicit. Yeah. Tell us about where you think the low-hanging fruit is.
Yeah, it's. If you think about sector disruption, and I guess there's two trends. One, I'll share, we as KPMG see a sector play as strategically critical to the future, right? So if you think about what's happening across industries, across sectors, across technology, we see a view where we need to become increasingly sector focused in how we're creating that value for our clients, kind of going back to the previous conversation. So we're making a pretty strong pivot, and have actually already gone into that pivot, around really driving centricity of our teams through a sector lens to be able to make sure that we're showing up at our clients with a point of view around that ecosystem in their sector, specific knowledge, insights specific to the sector. From a disruption perspective, I would argue all sectors are going to be disrupted. But I also look at it as a continuum on knowledge work versus physical work, and plotting the sectors there. So if you think about knowledge work, professional services being part of that, we covered the disruption there. Financial services, I think, is going to be kind of a fast follower. And that's not any different than what we've seen play out over the last decade plus of like digital AI, cloud, financial services has historically been pretty a first mover in a lot of the technology, and part of it is just the value equation that it creates for their customers, but it's also kind of the disruptive narrative of their business itself, right, as it moves much more from a knowledge base into AI. So we see financial services at the forefront, but healthcare kind of then following there, but you're even seeing it in physical brick and mortar stores as well, right? AI, even if it's not transforming the physical, production of your product, it is going to advance things like robotics, right? So, AI is this flywheel that is going to disrupt other parts of technology as well. It's going to make physical robotics better. It's going to make all these other parts, move faster.
Yeah, it's interesting. I want to get your thoughts while you're here. It's such an expert, such a great perspective. On your reaction to the following. I went to college in the 80s, so I'm a little bit old. The cultural shift is happening, yes, but it's not the new guard replaces the old guard. You're seeing old school, new school coming together with AI. Yep. And you've seen it in crypto too, by the way, because the financial infrastructure has been changing. What's your view on that? Do you agree? Because I've seen people, all my friends are like, who weren't working, are back in the game because it's so intoxicating. The change is fun if you're in tech. Yeah. And then also the new workflows are impacting how things are getting. So you got change on the front end, but culturally these two, what's your reaction to that?
I bring it down to maybe not a generational play, although you could argue there are tendencies by generation. Won't get into that here.
There's many memes on the internet on that one.
Exactly, but it's really about an individual's willingness to change, to see things differently. Lifelong learning is probably the thing that I see separating the folks. Like I don't have a degree in data science, right? I didn't think I would ever, my background's finance, started my career on Wall Street. I never thought in a million years I'd be sitting here
for many things.
Sitting here at Dreamforce talking about AI, right? Like, so I think it's the people that are going to, and this is not a generational gap, but this is where I see in the workforce, people that understand that the world is changing around them and they have to change with the world. They have to invest in themselves, they have to invest in different ways of doing. They need to pull the innovation lever, both with themselves and their enterprise, and they need to do it quickly.
And your business model conversation earlier was good because those are probably non-technical people that know the business.
And that's, I think that's critical. You know, a lot of we do a quarterly pulse survey that kind of tracks the trends. You know, we could probably do it daily, given the speed of change that I talked about, but quarterly's enough. My marketing team's probably freaking out with the daily pulse survey. With that said, you know, the trend that's remained the same is that the predominant C-suite leader that's driving AI is the CIO. I think, you know, the CIO certainly has a point of view given the complexity of the technology, the data, the security, the trusted AI angle, like all of those pieces are critically important, but you really need to have your business leadership team. This is not a IT conversation. This is a C-suite board conversation on, you know, every board meeting should have AI. I'm on our management committee for the firm. You know, we also have a head of AI. We make sure that in every one of those conversations, AI and business model disruption is front and center in that conversation.
Do you think that the chief AI officer is a permanent job or is it temporary and then fused into everybody?
I don't know that it's a forever job. I think it's a job that's needed right now because of the pace of change and the newness of the impact AI has. I think it certainly has helped our organization drive maniacal focus on the topic and how we're going to help disrupt across the business and our technology teams. I think longer term though, this is really a role that's likely, you know, this is what the chief digital officer should do for an organization, CDO, transformation officers, right? There's I think a new set of C-suite organizationally, whether it's an AI officer, that might be the means to the end, but the permanent thing is the digitization, the transformation, having kind of that change agent in the organization that's looking forward, and whether that it could also be your chief strategy officer, right? Right now I look at it as 3, 4 in a box, right? The business with your strategy, right? Don't have an AI strategy, have an enterprise strategy that understands and contemplates AI. I think that's critically important, right? It's foundational into that. Don't have an IT strategy. Again, you need to have an enterprise strategy that informs your AI and IT investments. Having that leadership team sit together and really drive the change collectively, I think is what's most important today.
So we're here at Dreamforce. What are your impressions? Like, what do you think the next big bets are for Salesforce? You
know, obviously the healthy dose of agents. I think the big, you know, I wouldn't say it was necessarily new, but solidifying kind of the 360 platform view that they announced this week, I think is important. I think that's a trend that we're seeing across the tech landscape where there's really just a handful of what I would consider platform companies in the tech space that kind of extend that full, you know, everything from the data and infrastructure layers to the experiential layers, the integration, right, even the workflow, the ontologies in the middle. So I think that's been kind of the doubling down and hearing about that I think, although announced this week, has been intentional in Salesforce's investment strategy for the last several years, which I think shows a lot of foresight in where the technology market's going.
And they've been working on this, so we've been covering it. It's coming to fruit. Todd, it's great to have you on, and I know your super valuable time is at play here, but I really want to say thank you for sharing.
It's been great, the conversation.
Final question for you, what are you optimizing for now? What's your focus? Obviously, you're on the management committee, you got the whole 20-mile stare, you got the assets underneath, what's your focus?
You know, I think from an AI perspective, it's really been about driving adoption. You know, we are deploying world-class technology, but it's only as good as our people using it. So if I look at kind of what I'm really proud of, you know, right now at KPMG, we've been at this from a change management perspective for 2+ years, getting everyone in the organization understanding that this is critical from the C-suite on down. We deployed new technology 2 weeks ago. within 24 hours, 75% of 40,000 people used it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unheard of in any organization. So I give kudos to the team and to the firm on driving that message to our folks that this is important, this is here to stay, and you need to use it. As I look forward, it's really scaling it at the enterprise. So instead of broad-based individual user adoption, it's looking at broad swaths. I'm in our clients and markets organization. I'm really focused on looking at kind of end-to-end agents that really support our customers in differentiated ways, that really think about bringing the full force of the firm to them.
Well, we'll keep in touch. AI scales intellect and creativity and human potential. Thanks for coming on, sharing the KPMG representative. Right. Doing our part to scale intellect here in theCUBE by sharing all the experts here, mixture of experts, pun intended. I'm John Furrier, Gemma Allen. Thanks for watching theCUBE.